Hello.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I hope everyone at home can hear you as well. I'm gonna turn the game down a bit. I think that's all good. And I'll make sure you're turned up. Okay. Can you speak for me?
Yep, hello?
Hello, all right, I can hear you fine.
Alright, good.
All right, yeah, we can hear you fine. Awesome. The people in chat say yep as well. So, good to hear you. I've never heard your voice before. It's, nice.
You cut out there, I didn't catch that.
Oh, I said, it's nice to hear your voice.
Yeah. Thanks, you know, it's cool that you agreed to do this, you know, it's interesting to be able to, you know, share some of what happened on the back end of it.
Absolutely, right? Yeah, you want to be able to share that kind of stuff because, you know, I think it's really interesting at least, you know? Especially the development process and all the stuff you're doing, so I'd love to ask you some questions.
Sure, go for it.
It's not like I haven't shared these questions with you before. What? It's planned? Who'd have thought? But the first question...
I just wanted to make sure it was nothing that I had to, like, actually think about, so I wanted to make sure I could answer off the cuff.
Yeah, absolutely, I get it. Alright, so, first question I'm gonna ask you. Why and when did you decide to make a ROM hack of Emerald?
The when is about 4 years ago.
4 years.
By now.
Wow.
Yeah, and the why is because I was basically stranded without any internet or people to talk to for like 2 weeks straight. Well,
Wow.
not no internet. I don't know if you ever heard of something called HughesNet. But
HughesNet?
It's satellite internet. Where I was at the time had no like traditional internet, so you had to go through the satellites, which means that they would charge you by the megabyte.
Wow, yikes.
So yeah, it was basically like browsing in a third world country where every single thing that I was looking at cost.
Wow.
So I couldn't do anything major. So luckily I had a copy of Pokemon Emerald on my phone, and I played through it like legitimately 12 times in a row just because I had literally nothing else to do. And I just got to thinking, you know, why isn't Waterfall a physical move in this game? Darn it!
I thought that too.
I want to play with one, and I want him to have Waterfall because he's an attacker. Damn it!
He is.
And so I used my limited ability to browse the internet at the time to look up how to do that, and I found a pre-made patch for it, and started making my own additions to it, and that is what ended up becoming Emerald Final. Just
wow.
Every time I would think of, man, I would love to have this feature, and I would find out how to add it, put it in there, and then eventually got to the point where I said, you know what, I think this is good enough to post. Other people might like it, and, you know, over 380,000 views on the original post, so I would say that definitely some people seem to like it.
Definitely, definitely. Holy cow, that's so interesting. And, like, man, so many little common problems that you probably thought of while playing the game over and over, right? Like the waterfall thing. That's so cool that you're like, no, screw it, I'm gonna fix these now. And then you made, like, Emerald Final.
Yeah, I basically had the Thanos moment. Fine, I'll do it myself before Endgame even came out.
Fine, I'll do it myself. Yes, exactly that. That's so funny. So yeah, if, let's say, you had Fire Red on your game and you were like on your phone and you were playing that instead, would you have made a Fire Red final instead of Emerald?
I probably would have. It's just I've always liked Emerald better, even though Fire Red is a remake of the originals, and I grew up playing the originals. I actually have been playing Pokemon since before I could even read.
Wow.
Believe it or not.
Same.
But the Hoenn games were the ones that I felt were mine. The other ones before were like, oh, a friend would have it and let me play it, or I didn't really understand because when I first played Gold, Silver, Crystal, I actually played a Japanese bootleg of it. So I went from not being able to read English playing Pokemon Red and Blue, and then not being able to read Japanese playing Gold, Silver, Crystal.
Nice.
So it was like Hoenn was the first game I actually fully understood.
I see. Okay. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. My first game was, I think, Pokemon Pearl for the DS, but, like, my dumbass didn't know how to read when I first played it, and I would just skip through all the dialogue until you got to the point where, like, that one guy standing outside of Sunyshore City, and I just didn't know what to do. I got stuck, and the guy did not let me through, so I was like, I guess I'm done playing the game. And then the first real game I played was Sapphire, and then I, actually learned how to read and knew what I was doing, and then I ended up playing the game, so... Yeah, I get it. It becomes your favorite.
Experiences, they're just coming from different directions.
Exactly. So I loved Emerald and Sapphire and Ruby and all them. So I really wanted to play Emerald after that, and then I just loved the game. So anyway, next question. What was the most challenging part of making Emerald Final?
This is going to be a bit of a controversial answer, but
Okay.
honestly, it's the community.
Really?
I don't know if you've experienced the Pokemon ROM hacking community as well as some others have, but there's a lot of really rude people in there, especially if you're asking like, "Hey, you made this hack and you did this thing in it. How did you do that? Could you direct me to a tutorial?" Now, to be fair, I get it when you're asked the same question by different people over and over and over again. You get frustrated. I understand.
Yeah.
That. But the way that they will react to you asking questions is beyond what I would consider acceptable levels of frustration.
Wow.
It goes into being outright rude.
Yikes.
And it's one of the reasons why I always try to help out people who come to me with like, "Hey, how did you do this in Emerald Final?" Like I've taken hours of my time writing up guides for people who I probably won't even end up doing it because they think it's too complicated. Because see, most people, they have that problem where they'll look at a problem and say, "Well, I'm not immediately good at this, so I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to try to convince somebody else to do it for me."
Yeah.
And again, to be fair to the other people in the ROM hacking community, that's the bulk of the kind of questions they're getting. "Hey, how did you do this?" "Oh, I don't understand your answer, so you just do it for me." And I've gotten a few of those myself.
Yikes.
But I always try to explain things in ways that people can understand. Like, one guy, he asked me, "How do you add in alternate trainers from a different ROM hack in Emerald Final?" And I said, "Well, this isn't going to be easy."
It's not, yeah.
Yeah, I should say it's not going to be complicated. It's just going to be time consuming. Because the way I explained it to him is you got to think of it like housing. Because each trainer is given the exact size living space for him or her and their Pokemon. And that's it. If you want to say, "Well, I want this Team Magma Grunt to have a Zubat and a Poochyena," can't do it because he already has his house set up to just have his one Poochyena.
Yes.
So you have to move him to a different location. And if that location is where I have put in code for something else, like a new bit of dialogue, he can't move there because there's something else there. He can't build a house there. So that means that you have to move everybody to new addresses individually to make sure that everybody is able to occupy one unit of space and nobody's encroaching onto another person's property, basically.
Okay. Wow. So
yeah, and I try to go through and think up analogies like this from time to time in my off time. So when I get questions like this, I can give these really good, quick answers so that people can understand and work towards making their own additions. Because one of the main things that I love about having made Emerald Final is that it's inspired other people to get into ROM hacking themselves.
I've noticed that, yeah, in the Discord server that Dear Man has made, there are different channels, and some of them are like other ROM hacks, and I think there's one called Poke Love that's based off of Emerald Final, right? The base of it.
Yeah, that's something that I've encouraged other people to do, is to use Emerald Final as a ROM base and just be like, okay, it has all the mechanical features down to what I want, or I can edit them from there and then build the actual game on top of it. And that was by Akiak. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his username properly, because who actually reads usernames aloud? It's just anyway. But
Aki is what I say.
His hack is really interesting. He had this idea of trying to make all 386 Pokemon, even not fully evolved ones, viable for play.
I heard, yeah. That's so awesome, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was a great idea, and the way that he accomplished this was the younger evolved Pokemon have better abilities or better stats in some ways, and as they grow, they're losing speed, they're getting less useful abilities, less useful move pools, and I thought that was a really interesting way to approach the game.
Absolutely.
It's not really my kind of, it's not something that I would really play, it's not really my thing, but I can recognize it as something that needs to be there, and I can respect it. And he's a great guy. He's helped me out with some hacking stuff. I've helped him out with some hacking stuff. Nothing but good things to say about him.
All right. Yeah, that's so cool. I'd like to think, because Natu is my favorite Pokemon, one of them, because when I played Pokemon Stadium, it took out an Entei somehow, and I just fell in love with Natu. So seeing Natu actually playable and beating actual good Pokemon in main series games would be, so cool to me. But I do have questions about Pokemon like Metapod, but I think that's for another time. Next question. You could have gone crazy with some stuff in your ROM, like go like add random crazy new rivals or fake mon, as people say in the ROM community. But you decided not to and just go on quality of life fixes. Why is that?
Well, I've always played, like, anytime I get a mod for a game that I play, I always like to keep things as close to the original vision of the developer as possible.
Okay.
Not because I'm, like, a purist or anything, but I feel like most people who make mods or certain editions don't do it with the intention of balancing. They do it because, ooh, wouldn't this be cool? And I think it takes away, it doesn't feel like the original game. And that's one of the reasons why I don't usually play ROM hacks. I've only played maybe 2 or 3 in my entire life. It's not really something I like, so it's kind of weird that I ended up being a ROM hacker because
right?
I don't even really care for them. Nothing against them. It's just I don't feel like they don't represent Pokemon to me. They feel like a different game most of the time.
Yeah, I can understand that. I haven't played too many ROM hacks. I think I've only played them when, like, I got them, like, a GBA emulator on my phone, and I thought I was the coolest person in the world playing games that weren't actually the main series Pokemon games. But, other than that, yeah, I'm not too fond of them either, and I love the little tiny quality of life changes, too. Because then everyone can relate to them, and then say, oh, I wish that was a thing when I played the game too. And that's how I'm like when playing Emerald. I'm like, oh my god, when I played Emerald, I wish there was a special physical split. You know what I mean? So
yeah, exactly.
Seeing that is so good.
It allows people to re-experience the old game
exactly.
with a fresh coat of paint, but it's still being the same structure.
Absolutely, perfectly well said, in my opinion. Oh my goodness. That's why I was so, like, in tune with, like, those Heart Gold and Soul Silver mods that make, like, little tiny quality of life changes. And that's how I found the Emerald final, by the way. I looked up Heart Gold and Soul Silver, like, their thing, and I'm like, is there one for Emerald, perhaps? And I found one perfectly, like, exactly like I wanted it. So it just worked out perfectly. But next question now. If you could have one Pokemon be broken that previously wasn't, what would it be? Like in, let's say, Emerald, the first 3 generations.
So this is the question that I struggle the most with to try to come up with an answer for, because honestly, I don't think any Pokemon are broken outside of maybe Salamence in Gen 3.
Yeah.
And it's like, would I want them to be broken? No, I don't want any Pokemon to be absurdly broken unless it's a legendary.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick, it would be a tie between Sceptile, who is my favorite Hoenn starter, and probably Butterfree, who has become my new favorite Pokemon after all the additions that I've done to Emerald.
Yeah.
Because he just ends up being a complete powerhouse by the end of the game. You can sweep Sydney without even trying. It's insane.
Yeah, you've mentioned that Caterpie, the Caterpie line, can now learn Nightmare. And that makes Sleep Powder Nightmare combo so good. So,
especially with Compound Eyes too.
Oh my goodness. So it's not missing. It's gonna hit no matter what, and you're gonna be doing so much damage. So that's really, really awesome. So I guess in a way you did make Caterpie and Butterfree more viable. So I guess that does answer the question that, like, I guess Butterfree would be the answer for that, like, what you actually did in the game, you know what I mean?
Right, but I didn't set out to do that.
No.
Most every single change that I've done up until this point has all been in line with the official games. Like, the only reason why Butterfree is getting access to Nightmare is because in XD Gale of Darkness, the sequel to Coliseum on the GameCube, there is actually a tutor for Nightmare, and Butterfree is one of the Pokemon that can learn.
Yeah.
So that wasn't a decision on my part to make Butterfree able to learn it. It's just, it was my decision to include that since it's in one of the official games. Even though that one's not one of the main games, it still is an official game.
Yeah, I would consider XD one of the major games. It's one of my favorites, at least, you know?
Oh, yeah, a lot of people love it.
It's really, like, underrated, I would say, and Shadow Lugia is just so good. If I were to say, hey, if you could add any Pokemon into the game, I'd say, please add Shadow Lugia, but obviously don't, because, like, that's not about that. This ROM's not about that kind of thing. But,
right.
Next question. What is your favorite part about modding / creating a ROM, if you haven't already answered it?
My favorite part is definitely the reaction that I get when I see people play it and enjoy it, and they say, "Hey, this is exactly what I was looking for. Thank you for making that." It's honestly humbling. It makes me feel like it's the best feeling in the world for me to see people tell me that they love what I've done and they're enjoying it. and to see them play it, and it's just, I love it. It motivates me to keep trying to make it as better as I can. I don't know how much more I can do after this next update, but who knows what the future brings, right?
Absolutely, yeah. That's really awesome, and I guess that really made you feel good when I started the game, and I'm like, oh my god, this is freaking amazing.
It did. I was really excited to see, to actually catch somebody doing a stream of it, because I had seen another streamer did a playthrough of it like 10 or 11 months ago now, but he was kind of underwhelmed, like, yeah, I guess I'll play this because it's Emerald, but less annoying. And, like, okay, it was nice to see somebody play it and give it attention, but it's like he didn't seem to really love it. So I was just like, you know, okay, this is cool, but, you know, thanks for playing.
Yeah, okay. But anyway, if I were to just add this in right now, I do love the game, and I'm enjoying it thoroughly right now.
I'm thrilled to hear that. Thank you.
To go to the next question now, is there any, like, I guess you kind of said you're kind of closing in on all the future adding stuff, right? But is there anything you plan to add in the future going forward right now?
So there are a couple of things that I decided not for this next version, because it's over a year and a half it's been taking me to make this next version. But hey, 2020 happened, and you know,
we all know,
man plans, God laughs, as they say. So I don't want to add in a couple of things that are going to take too much time and mental energy, because it's already taking so long for me to try to get, like, only the last couple of months have I actually gotten a workable beta out there, because a lot of the stuff that I'm adding in, especially the 4th gen stuff, like, I had to completely learn how to install all of these resources that people would make. And as I mentioned before, some of the people in the ROM hacking community are not helpful, so I actually had to hunt down and make my own guide on how to install these things.
Wow. Holy cow.
Yeah, I've actually helped out a bunch of people. There's Pokemon Emerald Genesis, I think it's done by, I want to say the guy's username is Hilsey or something. He had a Samus avatar. Anyway, he made that ROM hack in it, and it's directly resulting in him using my guide, because he actually commented, like, you know, hey, thanks for this guide, how do I do this? And I was able to help him out to install something called the Hacked Engine, which is what does a lot of the cooler stuff in Emerald Final, even before this next update, like the IV perfecting, EV resets. Yeah, that's all possible because of the Hacked Engine. And the thing that I'm adding in next is called the Battle Engine upgrade, which is actually was intended for the decomp pack, which for those who don't know, there are 2 ways that you can do ROM hacking: binary, which is working with the game that's already made, and decomp, which is essentially editing the source code. Think of it like changing the ingredients in the cake, or just putting new frosting on the cake.
So would you say, yeah, you're putting new frosting on this cake, right? That would be, yeah.
But I'm using something that was meant to be different ingredients.
Yeah.
And it's actually has been abandoned by the guy who made it, because he made a newer version that's completely incompatible with binary hacking, which is what I do. So I'm using this older version, and we've been trying to work out all the kinks in it. And, like, that reminds me, the fake out not making Dustox flinch, that was actually because of shield dust.
Yes.
Shield dust blocks that.
I read that.
That wasn't the bug.
Whoopsie.
Yeah, so, but I, you know, luckily it happened, and I was able to look into it, and we were able to verify, because somebody might ask that at some point. Now I know to just, like, hey, I know the answer to that one.
Yeah. My silly mistake on abilities.
Well, it was mine too, because I honestly never paid attention to shield dust, because I never used Pokemon who use it, and I never thought of fake out as having flinching being an additional effect, even though if I think about it, code-wise, it would count as one. So it's just a guaranteed one, and I kind of thought of, like, oh, shield dust blocks additional effects, so it's like if it has a chance, it would block it, but if it's 100%, it would just go through anyway, right?
Yeah.
So that was the issue. I didn't realize that even at 100%, it would still block it.
Huh. Yeah, I didn't expect it either. It was quite interesting. But next question here, and one of the final questions I have is there a plan for after you are finished with Emerald Final, like when you're completely satisfied with the results that the game has done, and perhaps a Generation 4 game that you're going to work on?
So a lot of people have asked if I would make the equivalent in Fire Red, because a lot of people love Fire Red, and there are a lot of great hacking tools for it, specifically one called the Complete Fire Red Upgrade, which is comparable in a lot of ways to the stuff that Emerald's done with, or that people have done for Emerald, but it requires a little higher level knowledge than I currently have.
Ah, I see.
So I don't know if that's going to be my next thing, but that is something that I would love to do, is to be able to go into Fire Red and try to make a Fire Red final, which, side note, I understand the name is ostentatious. I tried to think of a better one. I couldn't. It was the best I could come up with years ago.
You know, it sticks.
Yeah, but if that's not in the cards, making a Fire Red one, I might look into Gen 4 stuff. I have absolutely no knowledge of Gen 4 hacking, and the idea of trying to get into and learning all the new stuff and asking people for help again is not intimidating, but it's exhausting to think
I
about.
can imagine. Yeah, I can see it being exhausting for sure.
But there's a couple of things that other people have offered, like side projects, like, hey, let's make a difficulty hack for Emerald. And even though, I'm the first to admit this, I suck at playing Pokemon. I've never been good at team building. I just pick what Pokemon I like. So that's one of the big reasons why I chose to not touch any of the trainers, any of the Pokemon outside of wild encounters, because it's just, I don't want to accidentally make things too easy or too hard.
Okay, that explains it. Okay.
Yeah, it's outside my skill set, but I'm gonna help them with that, because there's obviously there's a difference between team building and actually putting those teams that have been built into the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna help with that, and there's a couple of other projects. I want to say it was my moderator, Mega Tyler. He said that he wants to make a Fire Red hack with Fakemon, and he asked for my help with that after the final, and I said, sure, I'll give you a hand with that.
All right.
And there was one more. I think somebody else wanted to make an offshoot hack and asked for my help with it, and I said yes, but I don't think it'll be anything too major, like too big of a time sink for me.
Okay.
Most of ROM hacking doesn't take a lot of time. It's mostly just mental energy and finding the opportunity to sit down and actually do the work.
Yeah, I can get that for sure. It's like almost sometimes, I don't know if this is relatable at all, but like editing a video, it's like, it's not the hardest work in the world, but you have to scan through so much stuff, make sure it's all good. You have to revise it so many times, then once you finish it, you're like, I still missed something.
It's exactly like that. It's very mentally draining, and the idea of getting up and doing it again, you're just like, oh god, no.
But when you finish it though, you're like, oh my god, that was so worth it. I just realized I kept Deer Man in a fighting type attack. Oh my god, that almost killed him. Anyway, back to our interview. But that sounds really awesome that you have so much, I guess, not planned, but like opportunities. You know what I mean?
Yeah, plenty of ideas in the air. I've actually thought, we mentioned XD a couple times. I've thought of looking into trying to make a port for XD into Emerald, or at least like have a game set in there, which would be awesome. And I think somebody else has done it before, so I don't know if it's something I would do, but it's a fun idea, and I might look into it and toy around with it just to see, because there is the ability to activate stealing trainers' Pokemon in the battle engine, which is coming in the next version.
I see.
Okay. And it's
Okay.
mainly because of that. I would love to see that get some use in the game.
So to clarify, you're thinking of possibly making a game where it's like the design of Emerald and all, but it is like XD, Gale of Darkness, basically.
Yeah, it's more of an idle thought. It's not something that I've put a lot of mental energy into or put any plans on paper about, but it's something fun to think about.
Absolutely.
Because XD is a great game, but GameCube emulation is nowhere near as approachable as Game Boy Advance emulation.
No, God, handhelds have always been easier, it seems.
Yeah, and that's the primary thing that keeps me thinking about it from time to time, because like anybody can emulate a Pokemon game that's for the Game Boy Advance or before on their phone.
Mm-hmm.
There's absolutely no chance, unless you're using an old flip phone, that you can't emulate those games. But to emulate a GameCube, you need a decent computer. Like, it doesn't need to be a high-end gaming computer, but you need a pretty good graphics card to be able to render 3D environments.
Yep,
so
that's true.
It's not as approachable for the casual user. And as much as I love being a PC gamer, I understand that not everybody's into that one.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to have everything be as approachable as possible for people. It's one of the reasons why I made Emerald Final so modular. You can patch in any options you want, so that, because I'm not the person who knows how to play the game the best. I just, I have my own way of playing the game. You have your own way of playing the game, and I want to be able to accommodate as many of those as possible.
Yeah, for sure. I can understand that. Hold on 1 second. I'm changing my title to Interview with the Creator. I should have done that from the get-go, but we had quite a few viewers actually watching and listening, which makes me kind of happy.
Yeah, it's like how I feel when people are playing my game. You feel the same way when people are watching your streams.
Yeah, I guess that would definitely sum it up for sure. I just changed it, so that's really cool. But anyway, some questions in the chat. Or not questions, but some funny things that were said, like when he's done Emerald Final, the final version of Emerald Final. Fun fact,
Yeah.
actually, when I looked into if anyone made any videos on Emerald Final, I looked up Emerald Final, and it's just Pokemon Emerald Finale videos of every Let's Player in the world.
Yes, that I have seen so many of those, because I don't mean to sound arrogant or egotistical, but from time to time I try to look up, like, hey, is anybody playing it? Has anybody made videos about it? And that's something that I constantly have to deal with when I'm looking up Emerald Final information. It's just, it's one of the things that make me think I should have thought of a better name for the damn thing.
Yeah, maybe.
Because it's like I said before, it's an ostentatious name, but I couldn't think of anything better at the time, and it just fits so well that I didn't want to change it, and now we're in too deep.
It's too deep, yeah. I like the name though. I think it's really good. I think, yeah, the final beta version of the game, like the final, I guess not tester, but like, what is it called? It's not deluxe, is it? It's the other version of it.
So I guess I'll explain how that's.
Oh yeah, for sure, do that right now.
So up until now, Emerald Final has been made just with regular tools, except for using the hacked engine, which, like I said, that's something that I had to write a complete guide on how to even install, because people were not wanting to be, cordial when they asked for help.
Mm-hmm.
But up until now, it's been pretty simple, pretty standard stuff, ROM hacking wise. But with the addition of the battle engine, it's going to cause fundamental changes to the way that the ROMs are going to work. And because of that, we have to split it into two, we're calling them variants. The deluxe variant and the legacy variant. Legacy is going to be more of the same. It's going to be 100% compatible with vanilla. You can trade with vanilla games. You can put it onto a vanilla cartridge, a save from Emerald Final Legacy. No problem. Absolutely works fine.
Which, by the way, is so cool that you're able to do something like that. Trade from a ROM to vanilla.
That was one of the things that kept me from adding the battle engine for so long, because I could have started work on it last year. Well, not last year, but before last year, I should say. But I've always just had this thing where I need Emerald Final to be compatible with vanilla, because I don't think there's a single other Emerald hack that explicitly has that known and said and available. This is compatible with vanilla.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's because that's something that the ROM hacking creators just don't think that people value, but I can say from personal experience, I've had numerous people say that they are happy that it's compatible with vanilla for various reasons. Some people like to play on real hardware. They like to put it onto an actual Game Boy cartridge and play it on the Game Boy. And then they can trade with their legit copy of Emerald.
Yeah.
So it's a great thing that I'm able to provide another way to accommodate different players who might not see what they want in the more mainstream hacks. But anyway, the deluxe version variant, I should say. Can't even remember my own naming scheme.
Yeah, nice.
The deluxe variant is going to have the Gen 4 Pokemon in it, specifically just the evolutions for the Hoenn and prior Pokemon. So you're going to see Nosepass's evolution Probopass. You're going to see Sneasel's evolution Weavile. You're going to see... Is there anyone from Gen 1 I'm blanking? I don't think there is.
I don't think so. Not off the top of my head.
Lickitung. Lickitun's evolution Lickilicky.
Okay.
So...
Oh, and I guess, like, Electivire and all that?
Yes, Electivire and Magmortar, yes. Those are going to be included as well. And the reason why this is doable is because, for whatever reason, when Game Freak made the third generation of Pokemon, they had 411 available slots, but they only ended up using 386.
Huh. I see. That's so weird.
I don't know exactly why that is. I think that they just overshot intentionally so that if they make mistakes, they can just like, okay, we have extra free space to work with, we're fine. That's my theory, but there might be some official story about it. I don't know. But anyway, because of that discrepancy of 25 slots, I'm able to include the 22 4th gen evolutions for previous gen Pokemon without having to expand the Pokemon list. The reason why that's important is because this way you can bring in an old save into Emerald Final Deluxe, even an old vanilla save, and it'll still work just fine.
Wow.
But if you were to expand the Pokemon list, that is going to fundamentally change the way that the data is saved, because it's pointing to a completely different section of the game. It's constructed differently.
Yeah.
All the numbers change. It just simply does not work. It's like trying to plug a UK plug into an American.
Yeah.
It just doesn't fit.
It doesn't fit. Yeah, that makes sense.
So, because I don't have to expand the list, you can bring in these old saves, and technically you can bring the new saves out of Deluxe and put them into Vanilla. However, if you were to open up any Pokemon that has a move from beyond the Hoenn generation, it's going to crash the game.
I can assume so, yeah. That makes sense.
So, I've thought about putting in an NPC that's like the move deleter, but like a super move deleter. He just completely wipes out all 4 of the moves on the Pokemon, just bam, they're gone. So that you can transfer your Pokemon save from Emerald Final Deluxe to Legacy or to a Vanilla cart if you prefer. Without
any issues, just in case there is, yeah, okay.
Right, we've actually done tests on it, and it works just fine.
Oh, wonderful.
And there actually was a successful link attempt between Emerald Final Deluxe and a Vanilla cart, and it works just fine so long as what you're using doesn't have any of those 4th gen moves, or if you're not using any of the 4th gen Pokemon. Because even though it's using slots that are available in the base game, it doesn't have any of the data that I put in there, like the sprites and the movesets, etc. So if you were to trade it over, it would just show up as a missing no, which is nowhere near as cool in Gen 3 as it is in Gen 1.
Not at all. It doesn't get all those Master Balls in your inventory.
Yeah, exactly. So, yes, the next version will have those 2 variants, and they will not entirely be mutually compatible, but good enough for government work, as they say.
Okay. That's so really cool, actually, that like you're dividing them up so that no matter what, everyone's accommodated, you know? I love that.
That's the idea. Like I said, I wanna try to make sure that as many people as possible can play the game they want to play and enjoy it the way they want to enjoy it. And that's also one of the reasons why when people will come up to me and say, hey, I would love to have this addition to the game, like I would like my Meowth to learn Payday at a younger level. I don't do it for them, I show them how to do it.
Okay.
So that, you know, it's you know, give a man a fish, teach a man to fish. I very strongly believe in that when it comes to this stuff, because a lot of people, like I mentioned earlier, they just say, oh, I'm not skilled at that, and they turn their brains off to new activities. But they really should realize that, hey, if you just actually get down and do it, it demystifies the entire process, and you realize, you know, I was letting myself get intimidated. This is not that hard. This is not that complicated. And I don't mean that in some sort of smug, like, oh, you can do it if I can do it. Like, no, legitimately, it's not that difficult. So that's why I encourage people to make their own additions, even if I have to help hold their hand through the entire thing, because when they're doing it themselves, the next time they want to make an addition that's a little more ambitious, they can just do it.
Yeah, they would have the resources, yeah.
Right, and that might build to them making their own ROM hack. And I encourage that. More people should.
Man, This interview is so fun. I'm really enjoying this. I should do this more. I should have you on more, man.
Yeah, I'd love to.
I had another question off the top of my head, but it just disappeared into thin air. I'm so sorry.
Sorry, I tend to ramble.
No, I got it. I just remembered it, yes. Because I just ran into a wild Pokemon here. I recall you surprising me by showing me that there was a Beldum in Stephen's Cave area of Granite Cave. Are there any other special locations like that, like in the game, that you've added in?
There is,
Oh, go. It's okay.
I was just gonna say there's one other Pokemon that has a 1% encounter chance like Beldum, and that is actually Cast Form.
Cast Form?
Yes, because even though you get a guaranteed Cast Form at the Weather Institute, this is more of a world building immersion thing for me. There is a trainer on Route 120 who has a Cast Form, and where would she get?
Yeah, right.
If you have to get the only one from the Weather Institute, where would they be? So that's the reason why Cast Form is available in the wild. This way, every single Pokemon that isn't a legendary has a repeatable method to obtain it. Even though for the babies, those are all on Mirage Island.
Yes,
Except
I heard.
For Tyrogue, who is in a different location for not plot reasons, but
A cooler
fidelity, I
area,
should say.
let's say.
No, it's I put Tyrogue in the ice cave in the
Oh.
room where you get the focus band, because in Gen 2, that's where you get Tyrogue originally, is from a karate guy in a cave.
That is
So
right,
it's like,
yeah.
Thematically, I feel like it fits more for a Tyrogue to be in there, because that's a whole thing, you know, the whole martial arts, like you have to train in these harsh environments to train your body and heal. So it makes sense to me that there would be a Tyrogue.
That's really cool. Actually, just having you here, I can ask this question. Does Tyrogue evolve differently in this game for, like, all three of the evolutions? Or is it, like, most likely the same, like, where it has to have, like, higher attack or higher defense?
So that is something that I wish I could have changed. So the way that Pokemon works is that each Pokemon is given 5 evolution slots. And most of them are left empty, because most Pokemon don't need that many evolution choices. The only one that does is Eevee. And you're probably thinking, well, gee, you expanded the 4th gen evolution, so Eevee can evolve into Leafeon and Glaceon. That's a total of 7.
Yes.
That's because the hacked engine, which is an addition that's been in Emerald Final for a while, I'm just only now making use of this ability, does specifically change Eevee's evolution to be different from the rest of them, rather than saying, okay, we're going to give every single Pokemon in the game 8 slots now. It would just waste a lot of space that you don't need to.
Absolutely it would.
So because there's only 5 available slots, it would... It's kind of hard to explain. There are many different methods for evolution. There's the simple level up, there's trading while holding an item, happiness, etc. But one of the ones that I'm making a lot of use of for all the 4th gen evolutions is level up while holding an item. Not just trade while holding an item, but actually have a level while you're holding a specific item. And the problem is that is split into 2 into time of day and night. You can't just have level up while holding an item. You need to have level up while holding an item at day, level up while holding an item at night, and just set them to the same Pokemon so that way, regardless of what time it is, like for example, Sneasel's always going to evolve in a Weavile.
Yes.
If, regardless of time of day. I don't know why I chose that one. He's a specifically happiness during night, but you get the point.
Yeah.
But because of that, I couldn't change it so that Tyrogue could have that kind of evolution, because he has 3 choices, and I can't do 2 for each, because that would be 6 instead of 5. And he only has the 5 slots.
Okay.
So because of that, I couldn't think of a good way to make their evolutions feel realistic, because it's like, what else would I have them evolve by? Giving them a Moonstone? That doesn't really make sense for Tyrogue. Nor does any of the other evolution stones. And it's beyond that, happiness wouldn't really feel right for that particular Pokemon either. So I just decided to leave Tyrogue's evolutions as vanilla, which does bother me a little bit, because I don't like the stress inherent in trying to get a Hitmontop where the stats have to be identical.
Right.
But with the EV training cave, it's a lot easier to do something like that.
I'd assume, for sure.
So it's not a big deal, but if enough people say, hey, we would be fine with, for example, adding an additional evolution that Moonstone is guaranteed into Hitmontop, I would acquiesce. But as of now, I feel like that is immersion breaking in my current mindset.
All right, that's fair. That makes sense. Well, I think I'm out of questions.
Well, I tend to, like I said, I tend to ramble, so I probably answered other questions that you didn't
You
realize
definitely
you had.
did, for sure. Like, quite a few. But that just makes it better, you know? But yeah, thank you so much for joining me and answering some questions for quite a while, actually. I'm surprised we were talking for so long. Like I said, you're welcome anytime if I'm going to do this again. Maybe even for some coaching later on down the road for this game. But yeah,
sure.
Thank you so much, and I guess I'll see you in the stream.
Yeah, definitely, and just hit me up on Discord if you're willing to do this again. Just let me know, because I'm
Absolutely.
definitely up for it.
All right, thank you very much.
All right.
All right.